So guys, if we talk about the unit 43, so pension product, which include pension system and its aspect, pension product, different type of pension schemes, employee provident funds, public provident funds, insurance annuity scheme, and national saving schemes, NPS, and national pension schemes, and Atal pension yojana. Okay, so this is the course content, and you can expect half marks to 1 marks question based on this particular unit that we are going to cover in this particular session itself. Okay. So सारे जो सब topics हैं, ठीक है, we'll be going through all these subtopics of this particular unit, and with the help of number of MCQs and case studies, we are going to make our understanding. All right. तो बिल्कुल डिटेल में आपका पढ़ेंगे, कोई भी एस्पेक्ट आपका नहीं छोड़ेंगे, ठीक है. सो वी विल स्टार्ट विद वेरी फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन ऑन योर स्क्रीन गाइस. So quickly go through the question and try to answer this. ABC Private Limited, a manufacturing company operating in the textile sector. The company started with 15 employees, but due to increased demand, expanded its workforce to 25 employees. The company's HR, Mr. Ramesh, is unsure whether the employee provident funds APF scheme applies to their firm or not. So it is like apply hoga because they have more than 20 employees. He consult a financial advisor who inform him about the applicability of the EPF regulations. Which of the following statement is most accurate about the EPF? So question आपका EPF की eligibility के ऊपर है, and it is eligible to companies those who have 20 and above employees. ठीक है? So the company must register under EPF as it now has more than 20 employees. पहला बिल्कुल सही, ठीक है. The company is exempted. No. The company can choose whether or not to register. No, they do not have that particular option. EPF scheme apply only to government employees. No. Okay. So what will be your correct answer? A will be your right answer for this. Okay. So as per the EPF regulation, any firm operating in specified economic sectors with more than 20 employees must mandatorily register under EPF scheme. Since ABC Limited, so they have to register under this particular one. ठीक है, तो बेसिक क्राइटेरिया देखो यहाँ से ना, इस यूनिट का मैंने देखा है नंबर्स के ऊपर, जैसे आपका यूएएन कितने नंबर का होता है, प्रेन कितने नंबर का होता है, ऐसे बहुत बार ना क्वेश्चंस आपका हाफ मार्क्स के अंदर पूछे गए. सो यू हैव टू बी वेरी केयरफुल अराउंड दीज पर्टिकुलर नंबर्स. ठीक है. So this is employee provident fund scheme. This is a mandatory pension scheme for private sector, is managed by the EPFO, that is Employee Provident Funds organization. It was set up in 1952 and cover employees in a specified economic sector at firm with more than 20 employees. It is a statutory body under the Ministry of Labor or Government of India, which is responsible for regulation and management of provident funds in India. EPFO administer the mandatory provident funds while outsourcing the management of the scheme assets to fund managers. Traditionally, assets have been managed by PSU bank. Employer can exempt it from participation if their pension plan provide at least the same level of benefit. ठीक है. So अगर आप कहीं और से उनका pension plan है, if they have the same level of benefits or even more than that, they can exempt it from that particular one. ठीक है. Taking into account Employee Provident Funds and Miscellaneous Provision Act 1952. So please do remember this act also. The scheme of EPFO are administered by tri-party boards called Central Board of Trust. The board comprised chaired by Ministry of Labor and Employment, Government of India. So the EPFO operate the following three major scheme. One is EPS, Employee Pension Scheme. Then we have Employee Deposit Link Insurance Scheme, and the third one is आपका Employee Provident Fund Scheme. तो EPFO and उससे related जो schemes आपकी हैं and the mandate आपका जो दिया गया है about the EPF. ठीक है. So next one, हाँ, this type of question, ये सबसे ज्यादा मैंने पिछले 3-4 साल में आपका देखे हैं. ठीक है. Usually they are for half marks, but हाँ, कई बार half marks बहुत ज्यादा मैटर करता है. ठीक है. So how many digit does universal account number UAN कंटेन, सो इट इज हाउ मेनी डिजिट नंबर, इट इज अ 12 डिजिट नंबर, ठीक है। तो ये बेसिकली आपका जो हम लोग का ईपीएफ अकाउंट्स होता है उसका अकाउंट नंबर आपका, दैट इज द अकाउंट नंबर, ठीक है, जिसको हम लोग आपका यूनिवर्सल अकाउंट नंबर्स के नाम से आपका जानते हैं, ठीक है। सो ईपीएफओ इंट्रोड्यूस यूनिवर्सल अकाउंट नंबर, व्हाई इट इज नोन एज यूनिवर्सल, लाइक लेट्स से इफ यू चेंज योर एम्प्लॉयर सो इट विल वर्क सेम, ठीक है। तो उसी में आपका वो उसी यूएन नंबर, यू जस्ट हैव टू अपडेट द यूएन नंबर्स, ठीक है। और तो जो ईपीएफ का कंट्रीब्यूशन है वो वहीं से आपका होगा, ठीक है। So, which act as umbrella for multiple member IDs allotted to an individual by different employers. UAN is a unique 12-digit number assigned to an employee by EPFO. UAN enable the linking of multiple EPF accounts allotted to a single member. The UAN program was launched in October 2014 as part of Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyaya श्रमदेव जयते कार्यक्रम, ठीक है। सो दैट इज द वन, ठीक है, स्कीम आपका जिसके अंदर इसको इंट्रोड्यूस किया। तो इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ इट्स अ कॉमन डिजिट, जैसा हमारा पेन होता है ना, लाइक इट इज लिंक विद ऑल द ट्रांजेक्शंस, आपका जो पेन लिंक होती है या आधार नंबर एक सिंगल, ठीक है। तो वैसे ही आपका यूएन नंबर भी आपका एक सिंगल होगा, ठीक है, जिसमें सारी ईपीएफ की, लेट्स से इफ यू आर वर्किंग विद ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ए, तो वहां से जो डिडक्ट हो रहा है, ठीक है। कल के डेट में इफ यू switch your job to organization B, तो वहां का जो employee ID है that will link with that particular one, so you do not have to open again and again, ठीक है। तो सिंपल भाषा में अगर हम इसकी बात करें, so EPFO is also a nodal agency for implementing bilateral social security agreements with other countries. So it is one of the largest social security organization of the India, ठीक है। EPFO अगर हम नॉर्मल बात करें तो one of the largest social security organization in India, both in term of beneficiary base and quantum of financial transaction undertaking, ठीक है। तो EPFO जो हमारा जो क्वेश्चन था that was based on this, we'll come to this. So EPFO is an apex decision making body, is the central board of trust, जो भी हमने डिस्कस किया था। EPFO has been taking several measure to simplify the operations of EPF accounts, both the employer and employee, by adopting it. So, by adopting IT-enabled tools in this. So, EPFO undertake a number of digital initiative in the recent past. So, जिसमें आपका overall platform, the dual role of being administration and overseeing the implementation of act, also work as a service provider for the covered beneficiaries. So EPFO introduced UAN, which act as an umbrella for multiple members ID allotted to an individual by different employers. The UAN is a 12-digit number assigned to an employee by EPFO. So UAN enable the linking of multiple EPF accounts allotted to a single member. The UAN program was launched in October 2014 as a part of पंडित दीनदयाल उपाध्याय श्रमदेव जयते कार्यक्रम, ठीक है। सो बोथ द एम्प्लॉयर एंड एम्प्लॉई, इफ यू टॉक अबाउट द कंट्रीब्यूशन, सो वी हैव 12% कंट्रीब्यूशन फ्रॉम द बोथ द साइड, ठीक है। 12% आपका एम्प्लॉय की तरफ से उनकी ग्रॉस सैलरी का, एंड 12% सेम आपका बाय द एम्प्लॉय, ठीक है, एम्प्लॉयर एंड एम्प्लॉय, ठीक है। सो कंट्रीब्यूशन इज 12% ऑफ एम्प्लॉय सैलरी फॉर ईपीएफ, ठीक है। द एम्प्लॉयर मैचिंग द कंट्रीब्यूशन आर allocated across EPF and EPS, such as the 3.6% goes into the EPF, the remaining 8.3 in EPS. तो टोटल आपका वो 12% के अंदर हो जाएगा, ठीक है। So next question, ठीक है। I hope you getting these particular thing. ये आपका like जो normal, मतलब these are kind of guidelines, ठीक है। तो थोड़ा सा 2-3 बार अगर आप इनको पढ़ेंगे तो आसानी से समझ में आ जाएगा, ठीक है। एंड हाफ टू 1 मार्क्स का क्वेश्चन आप यहाँ से एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हो, जरूर पूछा जाएगा एक क्वेश्चन आपका, ठीक है। सो इट इज मोस्टली आपका हाफ मार्क्स क्वेश्चन, बट 1 मार्क्स भी हो सकता है विद स्टेटमेंट्स और इस तरीके से वो आपको चीजें देंगे, ठीक है। एंड 1 गो के अंदर आप ये आसानी से डुएबल है, थोड़ा सा रिवाइज करेंगे, ठीक है। जैसे अभी मैं आपके लिए एक मॉड्यूल वाइज आपका यूनिट वाइज मॉक टेस्ट आपका तैयार कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है, जिसमें मतलब मॉड्यूल यूनिट वाइज, ठीक है। लेट्स से दिस इज मॉड्यूल डी। सो मॉड्यूल डी के सारे जो यूनिट्स हैं वो सब आपको एक मॉक टेस्ट के अंदर इट विल बी फॉर 3 आवर्स, जिसमें आपको 300 या जितने भी नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस विल बी रिक्वायर्ड उतना आपके लिए प्रैक्टिस करो, तो जिससे आप उसको बार बार अटेम्प्ट करेंगे तो कहीं ना कहीं यू विल गेट एक्सपर्टीज इन दिस पर्टिकुलर वन, और रिवीजन भी आपका आसानी से हो जाएगा, ठीक है। So consider the following statement about EPF contribution carefully and identify the correct statement. So we have to find out the correct statement here. So the employee contribution is 10%. ये अभी हमने discuss किया है. The employer contribution is 10%. No, both are at 12% here. So in private organization, EPF is calculated only on basic salary. This is true. Employee have to pay additional charge of 1% for EDLI and EPF administration. This is true. ये आपका contribution होता है इसके लिए. The maximum EPF contribution from employee can be 1800 per month if opting for फिक्स्ड लिमिट. ठीक है. सो दिस इज ऑल्सो ट्रू. ठीक है. 1800 आपने कई बार देखा होगा. ठीक है. लाइक इफ दैट 12% आपका उससे ज्यादा होता है. ठीक है. सो दे दैट इज द कैप फॉर दिस पर्टिकुलर वन. ठीक है कि 1800 से ऊपर आपका नहीं जाएगा. ठीक है. So we have to find out the correct statement. All these three statements are true and these first statements are incorrect. ठीक है. तो आपका 3, 4, 5 will be right answer for this particular one. आसान सा क्वेश्चन था. ठीक है. So EPF is calculated on the salary, where salary like basic plus DA. In private organization, salary is equal to basic. The EPF contribution is either 1800 per month or 12% of the salary, whichever is higher. ठीक है. मतलब जहां से whichever is lower. ठीक है. तो 12% और 1800 whichever is lower. ठीक है. Maximum, this is the maximum limit. That means 12% of your salary goes into your PF accounts. Your employer need to contribute 12% to. The 12% is further divided between two areas. One is EPF 3.6. ये आपको salary bifurcation में देखने के लिए मिलेगा 3.67% and employee pension schemes आपका 8.33% के अंदर. Apart from this, the employer need to pay 1% extra charge toward EDLI, employee deposit link insurance, insurance of your EPF and EPS investment. 0.50% sorry 0.5 second one is administrative charges. कितना आपका 0.50%. ठीक है. So administrative charges this. So these are some details around this particular one. So please do remember this. So what are the benefits of EPS? High interest. An individual get interest rate 8 to 9%. ठीक है. जैसा अभी like right now for the current financial year it was announced around 8.25%. ठीक है. 8.25%. ठीक है. जो 25 के लिए आपका जो अनाउंस किया गया था इट वाज 8.25%. ठीक है. इवन लास्ट ईयर भी आपका इतना ही था. मतलब 24-25 का भी इतना ही है. 25-26 के लिए भी इतना ही है. ठीक है. EPF balance held in the account. Currently, the interest rate in India is 8.10. This is the old one. ठीक है. आपका 21-22 का है. Right now it is 8.25%. ठीक है. EPF है ना. So there was one news around this particular one. ठीक है. I'll just check and confirm this particular one. So EPF, हाँ, it is 8.25% only. ठीक है. So right now it is 8.25%. I'll mention here. ठीक है. जिससे आपको थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजन ना हो. 8.25%. ये पूछा भी जा सकता है आपको लास्ट करंट फाइनेंशियल ईयर और इवन जो आने वाला फाइनेंशियल ईयर है उसके लिए भी यही है. So exemption from tax, EPF fall under exempt category. That means जो पैसा आप इन्वेस्ट करोगे वो भी exempted होगा. जो इंटरेस्ट आपको मिलेगा वो भी exempted होगा. इंटरेस्ट को आप दोबारा से इन्वेस्ट करते हैं वो भी आपका exempted होगा. ठीक है. सो exempt ये आपका टैक्स कैटेगरीज होती है. ठीक है. सो इन दिस पर्टिकुलर केस इन्वेस्टेड अमाउंट, इंटरेस्ट रिसीव and interest invested, all the categories are exempted from the interest आपका income tax. ठीक है. That is the money invested in EPF, the interest that is earned and the money that is withdrawn are exempted from the income tax. ठीक है. If one withdraw money in case of emergencies before the specified period of 5 years, there will not be exemption from the taxation. तो ये आपका एक condition है which should be followed. ठीक है. Low risk आपका. ठीक है. EPF is extremely low risk investment. ठीक है. Hence it gives the individual a safe options to invest his money with the added advantages of the government backing. ठीक है. Life insurance, EPF also act as life insurance. In case death of the employee, the corpus goes to a family of the that persons or nominees. Hassle-free owing UAN can employee need to open EPF accounts only once, and then it can be transferred from one to another employers. ठीक है, चलो next one guys. Exempted funds can be established as a substitute for EPFO. Exempted funds can be established as substitute for EPFO plan, provided the benefit at least match the ones of the EPFO plan, and that the EPFO approves setting up exempted funds. What is the maximum percentage of asset that trustee of exempted fund can invest in a private sector bonds since 1998? So it is how much? 10%. It is about the आपका ट्रस्टी लेट्स से जो फंड्स आपका रेस किए हैं ईपीएफओ के द्वारा, हाउ दे आर गोइंग टू यूज दैट पर्टिकुलर वन. तो इन्वेस्टमेंट्स के व्यू पॉइंट से व्हाइल दे मेक देयर इन्वेस्टमेंट, ठीक है, so it is a kind of exposure limit, maximum 10% like they can invest in private sector bonds and all. ठीक है, so since 1998 onwards. Next one, which of the following statement about the public provident funds PPF scheme are correct? So the lock-in period for PPF is 10 years. PPF आपका जहाँ पे हमारा like we usually like most of the employed person they generally use this particular scheme for the tax saving. It comes under 80C, ठीक है, and it can like save your income up to 1,50,000. ठीक है, तो जो 80C की जो रिक्वायरमेंट्स है उनको मीट करने में आपको हेल्प करता है. ठीक है, द लॉक इन पीरियड इज नॉट 10 years, इट इज हाउ मेनी years? 15 years. पीपीएफ कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन आर एलिजिबल फॉर टैक्स डिडक्शन अंडर 80C. बिल्कुल सही है ये, ठीक है, ऑफ द इनकम टैक्स एक्ट. ट्रू. First one was wrong, second one is true. An individual can open multiple EPF. No, you do not need to require multiple open. So आपका एक ही में you can invest, आप कितना भी अमाउंट इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं, बट द टैक्स बेनिफिट विल बी अकाउंटेड फॉर 1,50,000 ओनली. ठीक है. इंटरेस्ट ऑन ईपीएफ कंपाउंडेड एनुअली, दिस इज ट्रू. ठीक है. देन एनआरआई एंड एचयूएफ आर नॉट एलिजिबल टू ओपन a PPF accounts. So NRI and this are not eligible for this. So they are not eligible for this particular one. ठीक है, this should be true. ठीक है, but I'm little bit doubtful. तो दूसरा, चौथा एंड पांचवा किसी में है? अच्छा, ओके. इफ बी इज द राइट आंसर, लेट्स चेक दिस. हाँ, ओके, सो दिस इज ऑल्सो करेक्ट देन. ठीक है, सो आई जस्ट मिस दिस एनआरआई वाला पॉइंट. ठीक है, सो एनआरआई आपका एंड high individual like Hindu undivided families and non-resident Indians are not eligible for this particular accounts, and these two. ठीक है, so statement 1 was incorrect. The lock-in period is 15 years. ठीक है, and statement 2 is correct, 1,50,000 under 80C. Third one was incorrect due to they cannot open multiple accounts. ठीक है, this is a single account base. All right. So let's discuss PPF also. Public Provident Funds. So PPF scheme was launched by National Saving Institute and is one of the post office saving scheme. PPF is one of the popular government investment instruments. The lock-in period is 15 years for PPF, and one can extend their investment in PPF for another 5 years. General lock-in is 15 year first time. If you want to extend it, so it is for 5 years. PPF contribution are eligible for a tax deductions, 1,50,000 under section 80C. Moreover, return from PPF are completely tax exempted. This is also very important one. So return on PPF are completely tax exempted. The minimum investment into PPF account each year is rupees 500 and maximum is 1,50,000. ठीक है, this is the max limit actually. ठीक है, मतलब like you can have 5,000, 10,000, 1 lakh और 1,50,000. ठीक है, ऐसा नहीं कि आप अनलिमिटेड कर सकते. प्लीज beg my pardon in that particular case. ठीक है, investor cannot open multiple accounts. The interest is compounded annually. Public provident funds investment can be deposited in the form of lump sum amount or installment up to 12 installments per financial year. Any like that means you can start investing in the form of your EMIs. जैसे आप हर महीने लाइक 30,000 भी डिपॉजिट कर सकते हैं, और एक लमसम में आप क्या कर सकते हैं, आपका 1,50,000 आपका डिपॉजिट कर सकते हैं इसके अंदर। एनी इंडियन सिटीजन कैन अवेल दिस पर्टिकुलर सेविंग, हाउएवर इट इज नॉट फॉर एनआरआई एंड आपका एचयूएफ, ठीक है। एडिशनली इन्वेस्टर कैन अवेल अ लोन अगेंस्ट पीपीएफ इन्वेस्टमेंट्स, एंड सच लोन कैन बी अवेल बिटवीन 3rd and 5 years, ठीक है, तीसरे और पांचवें साल में they do have this particular benefit. As PPF have a lock-in period of 15 years, their benefit can be repaid during retirements or by the investor, so they can have, like, they can use this particular one as a retirement corpus, ठीक है। Next one, what is the maximum percentage of corpus that a subscriber can withdraw upon retirement of national pension scheme NPS? So it is up to 60%, ठीक है, yes, so it is up to 60%, ठीक है, max to max 60%, ठीक है, they cannot withdraw beyond that particular one, ठीक है। So upon retirement, NPS subscriber can withdraw up to 60% of the corpus, while the remaining amount is used to provide monthly pension in that particular case. Let's say किसी के उसमें आपका 1 करोड़ से, तो they can withdraw up to 60 lakh, रिमेनिंग 40 लैक्स आपका वो क्या होगा, जैसे there is a kind of MIP, मंथली इनकम प्लान की तरह आपका उनको वापस किया जाएगा, ठीक है, इन द फॉर्म ऑफ पेंशन आपका। सो नेशनल पेंशन स्कीम एनपीएस, नेशनल पेंशन, दिस इज अगेन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, ठीक है। एनपीएस इज अ सोशल सिक्योरिटी initiative by central government. This pension program is open to employee from the public, private and even unorganized sectors. Employee of the armed forces are however excluded from this particular, उनके ऊपर जो ओल्ड पेंशन स्कीम है आपका ओपीएस में ही लागू होता है, ठीक है। द स्कीम इंक्रेज पीपल टू इन्वेस्ट इन पेंशन अकाउंट्स at a regular interval during the course of their employments. After retirement, subscriber can take out certain percentage which is up to 60% of the corpus, ठीक है। 1 करोड़ है तो उसका 60 लाख तक you do have that option, you can withdraw that particular one. As an NPS account holder, the subscriber will receive remaining amount as a monthly pension during the post-retirement period. Earlier, NPS scheme covered only central government employees. Now, as per PFRDA, Pension Fund Regulatory Development Authority guidelines, is open to all Indian citizens on a voluntary basis. NPS scheme, ये बहुत ज़्यादा न्यूज़ में रहता है खासकर, ठीक है, जो बैंक यूनियन से एंड अदर्स, दे डू नॉट वांट दिस एनपीएस थिंग्स एंड ऑल, ठीक है, बट ये काफी ज्यादा इस पे रहा है कि कई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के द्वारा इसको आपका कंपलसरी कर दिया जाता है, तो वहां पे चैलेंज आते हैं, ठीक है। सो एनपीएस स्कीम आल्सो होल्ड इमेंस वैल्यू फॉर एवरीवन who work in private sector and require a regular pension after retirement. So the scheme is portable across job and location with a tax benefit under ADC and section ADCCD of Income Tax Act 1961. National Pension System, NPS, National Pension System, is being administered by PFRDA. So PFRDA is a nodal agency for this particular one under PFRDA Act 2013. NPS is a market link defined contribution product. Under NPS, a unique permanent a retirement account number, which is known as PREN, is generated and maintained by the Central Record Keeping Agency CRA for the individual subscriber, which is a again 12-digit number, ठीक है। तो ये भी आपका जो PREN है, that is also a 12-digit number, ठीक है। हाँ, अगला क्वेश्चन वही है आपका, ठीक है। So every individual subscriber under NPS is issued a permanent retirement account numbers, which is a 12-digit number, unique identification number used for tracking their pension contribution and account details, ठीक है। तो क्या होगा आपका आंसर, ये नंबर्स बहुत बार पूछेंगे, प्लीज ध्यान रखिएगा आपका, ठीक है। सो 12-digit numbers. Next one, guys. Amit, a private sector employee, has been investing in a national pension scheme tier 1 for the past 10 years. His annual salary is 12 lakh and they contribute 1.5 lakh per year toward NPS. His employer also contribute an amount of 10% of his equal salary toward the NPS accounts. Amit is now planning to his tax savings for the financial year and want to maximize his deductions under the Income Tax Act. So additionally, he is considering withdrawing a portion of NPS corpus due to an urgent financial need. He also want to understand the tax implications of his withdrawals at the time of retirement. Which of the following statement is correct? Yeah. So Amit can claim tax deduction up to 1.5 lakh under 80cc D1 and the additional 50,000 आपका under this. ठीक है. So it is 80C only. ठीक है. 80cc आपका and 80ccd 1,50,000 and 50,000. First one 10%. ये आई गेस देयर इज सम आपका ये मिस्टेक है लिखने का. ठीक है. Contribution 10% salary is from this. No. If the withdrawals is 30% of his NPS corpus, the superannuation retirement will know. Partial withdrawal 50% from NPS tier 1 corpus will tax free if no. तो ऑप्शन ए शुड बी राइट आंसर फॉर दिस वन. यस. हाँ ठीक है. तो ए आपका जो इसके लिए करेक्ट आंसर है. ठीक है. सो हाँ सी वहाँ पे ना थोड़ा सा राइटिंग आपका टाइपिंग मिस्टेक है आपका. ठीक है. सो बिकॉज और तो बिल्कुल ही इनकरेक्ट है आपका. दिस इज द ओनली वन विच फिट वेल. ठीक है. तो Amit contribute 1.5 lakh is eligible deduction under 80ccd subject to overall 1.5 limit under this particular one. Additional 50,000 under CCRD. Employer contribution 10% of salary qualify for separate tax deduction under 80ccd 2 आपका which is not part of 1.5 lakh under 80C. ठीक है. So at the time of superannuation 60% आपका जैसे हमने डिस्कस किया था. ठीक है. So here it was mentioned 50% I guess. ठीक है. कहीं पे तो हमें आपका दिखा था. ठीक है. So 50% आपका था. ठीक है. And partial withdraw tax free up to 25% of Amit own contribution but not 50%. ठीक है. So please do remember this one. If there is a partial withdraw up to 25% ठीक है, own contribution but not making options D incorrect. ठीक है. सो एक बार इसको आपका डिस्कस कर लेते हैं. The benefit available under NPS and an employee own contribution toward NPS tier 1 is eligible for tax deduction under section 80C CD 1. The income tax act within the overall ceiling of 1.5 lakh under section 80C of the income tax act 15 this. The subscriber also allow an additional tax deduction 50,000 CCD. ठीक है. तो ये आपका दो अच्छा ओके ये इसी के अंदर रहेगा. ठीक है. Employer contribution toward NPS is eligible for tax deduction under CCD 2 of the income tax act. Tax 14% of the salary for central employees and 10% for others. ठीक है. So in like Amit के लिए applicability was 10%. This rebate is over and above the limit prescribed under 80C. Interim or partial withdraw up to 25% of the contribution made by the subscriber. The principal from the NPS tier 1 is tax free with effective from 1st April 2019. Lump sum withdraw up to 60% of the total pension wealth from NPS tier 1 is the time at the time of superannuation stage जब वो retirement उसका आपका होगा. ठीक है. The 40% of the minimum 40% of the amount utilized for purchasing an annuity from ASP empaneled by the PFRDA is also tax exempted. ठीक है. तो ये tax obligations आपका tax benefits और obligations किस तरीके से आपका count होते हैं. ठीक है. Next one guys. What is the age limit of subscriber to join Atal Pension Yojana? So Atal Pension Yojana 18 to 40 years. ठीक है. सिंपल सा है और ये पूछा गया था लास्ट ईयर के ही एग्जामिनेशन में. ठीक है. सो इट इज 18 टू 40 years. 40 years द मैक्स. उसके बाद आप इसमें एंटर आपका नहीं कर सकते. ठीक है. हाँ यू कैन स्टार्ट विद 18 years. तो 18 years से स्टार्ट करेंगे यू विल हैव मोर कंट्रीब्यूशन मोर मनी एट द एंड. बट यहाँ पे मैक्स इज 40. लेट्स से यू कैन एंटर इन दिस पर्टिकुलर स्कीम एट लाइक जैसे आपका एज है 39 ईयर. यू कैन एंटर इन दिस पर्टिकुलर स्कीम. योर कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन विल टिल 60 years. उसके बाद आपको पेंशन मिलना स्टार्ट होगा. बट एंट्री का जो लास्ट एज है दैट इज 40 years. ठीक है. So Atal Pension Yojana is a pension scheme launched by Government of India which is focused on the unorganized sector workers. API minimum guaranteed pension is 1 year 1 2 3 4 5 thousand तक आपको ये ऐसे मिलेंगे. ठीक है. As per the contributions. ठीक है. So will start attaining from at the age of 60 years. डिपेंडिंग ऑन द कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन। ठीक है, किस तरह का कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन है। एनी सिटीजन ऑफ इंडिया इंक्लूडिंग एनआरआई दे ऑल्सो एलिजिबल फॉर दिस वन एपीआई स्कीम. So following eligibility, the age of subscriber should be between 18 year to 40 years. On attaining age of 40 years, the person would cease to eligible for the to subscribe this particular scheme. ठीक है, he or she should have a saving bank account, post office saving bank account. In case of a person does not have saving account, he or she approach bank ब्रांच और पोस्ट ऑफिस टू ओपन अ सेविंग अकाउंट, बिकॉज उसी के साथ आपका इसका जो कंट्रीब्यूशन जो देखने के लिए मिलेगा। ठीक है, नेक्स्ट वन गाइस, कंसीडर द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट अबाउट द अटल पेंशन योजना फ्रॉम 1st October 2022. एनी सिटीजन हु इज और हैज been an income taxpayer is not eligible to join APY. हमें करेक्ट ढूंढना है, दिस इज करेक्ट। हाँ, what we have to find out correct statement. Yes, an individual can open multiple. No, they cannot open him. The government of India guarantee a minimum pension under APY and funds any shortfall if actual return are lower than the assumed return. Okay, this is also true. So true statements आपका 1 in 3. 1 in 3 means option C should be right answer for this particular one. Okay, so statement 2 is incorrect. A person can only a person can open only one APY accounts and multiple accounts are not allowed in this particular case as well. ठीक है, what are the two primary stages of operation in pension scheme? तो क्या होते हैं आपका, we have two stages. One is accumulation stage where we generally or the subscriber they generally make the contribution. The another one is vesting stage where they receive the benefit of that particular scheme. ठीक है, तो option B will be right answer for this one. Accumulation, ये बहुत बार पूछा जाता है guys, प्लीज पे योर अटेंशन। ठीक है, ये स्टेजेस क्या होते हैं, ये अब बहुत बेसिक सा है बट याद रखना है। ठीक है, एक्यूमुलेशन स्टेज, द इन्वॉल्व इंडिविजुअल कंट्रीब्यूट अ स्पेसिफिक अमाउंट रेगुलरली until the retirements. Vesting stages, after retirement the person receive a steady flow of income for the rest of the life. ठीक है, so when one pays specific amount regularly and vesting is individual retire and he gets steady outflow of income on monthly basis आपको। ठीक है, so para banking and financial services by bank. ठीक है, so basic introduction, type of para banking and financial services provided by bank, organization of para banking and financial services activities by bank. So para banking and financial services, these are this is the entire list. ठीक है, so now with the help of questions or MCQs we are going to discuss these particular one and discuss in very detail, right? तो बहुत डिटेल में आपका इनको समझेंगे और इनसे रिलेटेड जो एस्पेक्ट्स है उनको आपका काफी डिटेल में आपका पढ़ने की कोशिश करेंगे। सो स्टार्ट करते हैं आपका विद वेरी फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन ऑन योर स्क्रीन गाइस। सो एज पर आरबीआई मास्टर डायरेक्शन 2016, which of the following is not classified as para banking and financial services? ठीक है, so it is all about the core banking, the traditional banking or the core banking thing, which is deposit and advances. They are not part of para banking services. Mutual fund, it is comes under the para banking and financial services. Equipment leasing and hire purchase, again under this. Cash deposit and withdrawal services, they are part of core banking services. Investment advisory services, again it is a part of para banking service. First question, very easy question. So para banking, which include services beyond routine transactions like deposit and withdrawals. Cash deposit and withdrawals services are part of core banking operation, are not categorized under the list of para banking. So with this particular question, we are going to discuss what is para banking, what comes, like what major services comes under this particular things with this these references. Okay, so para banking and financial services activities refer to those activities carried out by bank which are not normal day-to-day activities like deposit withdrawals or deposit and advances, even advances also. These services were earlier named as para banking services. RBI Master Circular 1st July 2015. ठीक है, subsequently RBI has come up with Master Direction 2016, wherein prudential regulations for investment by a bank in subsidiary or in financial services company. So now it is like most of the cases they are part of the bank subsidiaries, or it can be some agency business and others which are generally comes under this one. Okay? So not being subsidiary, that means financial services company, okay? Or a non-financial service company have been provided. RBI in Master Direction 16 has further expanded the scope of these services by following activities. One is it can be investment advisory services, agency businesses by bank, or broking services for commodity trading segment. So these are the three core areas where we this para banking things are generally known as nowadays. ठीक है, तो जो para banking है वो किस नाम से होती है, इन तीन नाम से आपको देखने के लिए मिलेगी. So what services that generally comes under this financial services category. So activities of bank which come under the para banking and financial services as per RBI Master Circular 2015 and Master Direction 2016. Financial services provided by bank dated 2016. So and updated on this. So these are the services. ठीक है, तो जो जिनको हम पहले पैरा बैंकिंग, फिर आपका फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज प्रोवाइडेड बाय बैंक. ठीक है, मास्टर डायरेक्शन 2016 एंड 2021 अपडेटेड वन और लेटेस्ट अमेंडमेंट. ठीक है, तो जिसमें आपका स्पॉन्सरिंग ऑफ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेट, इक्विपमेंट लीजिंग इन हायर परचेज बिजनेस, फैक्टरिंग सर्विसेज, प्राइमरी डीलरशिप, अंडरराइटिंग एक्टिविटीज जो मेजरली मर्चेंट बैंकिंग के अंदर आते हैं. ठीक है, म्यूचुअल फंड बिजनेसेस, इंश्योरेंस बिजनेसेस जो मोस्टली आपका एजेंसी के अंदर, इवन द पेंशन फंड मैनेजमेंट. ठीक है, इन्वेस्टमेंट एडवाइजरी, पोर्टफोलियो मैनेजमेंट सर्विसेज, एजेंसी बिजनेस बाय बैंक, रेफरल सर्विसेज, retailing of government securities, membership of SEBI approved stock exchanges, then आपका broking services for commodity derivative segment, bank investment in venture capital. ठीक है, so these are the services which are generally provided by bank nowadays in the name of financial services provided by bank itself. ठीक है, जो जिनको हम आपका पहले पैरा बैंकिंग के नाम से आपका जानते थे. ठीक है, अंडरस्टूड, दिस इज क्लियर. प्लीज डू रिमेंबर दिस पर्टिकुलर वन, दिस विल हेल्प यू आउट. सो जर्नल गाइडलाइंस about this para banking or financial services. ठीक है, so bank desirous of undertaking businesses permitted under section 6 subsection 1 of Banking Regulation Act 1949 may do so either departmentally, that means you can start your like जो आपका existing bank है, they can have a separate department to handle those particular activities, or the another one is through a separate subsidiary set up by the set up for the purpose under the provision of section 9 section 19 subsection 1 of BR Act 1949. ठीक है, an activity undertaking departmentally shall follow RBI guidelines on KYC compliances and Charter of Customer Rights issued. In addition, all instruction regulation of respective regulators, like if you are part of share broking, you have to follow the guidelines of SEBI. If you are part of insurance business, IRDA. If you are a part of pension business, so you have to follow the guidelines of PFRD. As applicable, shall also be complied with. Master direction on prudential norms of banking exposures, where wherever applicable shall also be compiled with. Okay. Bank are also allowed to hold equity in both financial services companies as well as companies not engaged in financial services activities within the limit of specified under provision of section 19 subsection 2 of BR Act 1949, subject to a prudential limits and enumerated in the so this particular chapter itself. So again we will go through, like most of the cases it is आपका 10%. ठीक है, so one by one, जैसे if we'll talk around the merchant banking, तो कितना stake हो सकते हैं, या if it is part of the advisory services or the venture capital as a financial service which is provided by bank, so what can be the maximum or minimum limit of ownership that is owned by the bank, that we are going to discuss with our number of questions. ठीक है, तो ये एक थोड़ा सा basic introduction about the para banking or the financial services which are generally provided by bank. ठीक है, now you can expect like the probability from this particular one is again 1 marks question based on this particular topic. Most of the time, if they'll ask this type of question, that will be for 1 marks downside, okay? Or it can be sometime for 2 marks, that depend on your examination level. Okay? So the next question, which of the following statement regarding prudential regulation for bank investments are correct? So we have to find out the correct statement. A bank equity investment in subsidiary or a financial service company not being a subsidiary shall not exceed 10%, 100% true, of the bank paid up capital and reserve. Okay? Statement 1 is 100% true. Okay? The aggregate equity investment in factoring service subsidiaries and factoring companies shall not exceed, no, not 20%, it is again 10%, of the bank paid up capital and reserve. So statement 2 is wrong. A bank not contribute more than 49% of equity of infrastructure debt funding NBFCs, 100% true. Bank are not allowed to hold more than 10% in equity of the deposit taking NBFCs other than housing finance company, again true here. So 1, 3, 4 are true here. Bank should not invest more than 15% of unit capital in REITs, real estate investment trust, or infrastructure investment trust, INVIT. Again, it is 10%, not 15%. Okay. So a bank should not hold up. So that means option 5 is wrong. Bank should not hold more than 10% of paid up capital of common a company engaged in non-financial services, 10% of the bank paid up this. This is again true. Seventh one is bank are not allowed to invest in category 3 alternative investment funds. This is also true. Okay? So that means 1, 3, 4, 6, 7. Okay? So 1, 3, 4, 6, 7. 1, 3, 4, 6, 7. Yes. Option A only is the right answer फॉर दिस पर्टिकुलर वन. ठीक है, अब याद कैसे होगा? याद हो जाएगा. ठीक है, एक दो बार अगर आप प्रैक्टिस करेंगे, और इवन इन आर टॉपिक वाइज मॉक टेस्ट ऑल्सो आई विल बी इंक्लूडिंग दीज टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस. ठीक है, तो वहां पे आप बार बार इनको प्रैक्टिस करेंगे तो उससे भी ये चीजें आपको याद हो जाएंगी. ठीक है, सो टू स्टेटमेंट्स वर रॉन्ग. वन इज statement 2 was incorrect. It is 10% and it is very easy to remember this one. ठीक है, थोड़ा सा आपको याद करने में आसान भी हो जाएगा. सबका 10% ही है. 5-1 is आपका more than they cannot have invest more than 10%. ठीक है, not 15% in this particular one. ठीक है, subject to overall ceiling is 20% of the net worth in this particular case. ठीक है, so please do revise these particular guidelines again and again as much as you can. ठीक है, तो आपको ये हेल्प करेगा. अ बैंक मेक एन इन्वेस्टमेंट इन फाइनेंशियल सर्विस कंपनी अंडर हेल्ड फॉर ट्रेडिंग. ठीक है, HFT, हेल्ड फॉर ट्रेडिंग कैटेगरी. In which case does it not require prior RBI approvals? So the a bank make an investment in financial service company under held for trading category. In which case does it not require prior approval from RBI? Investment is held minimum for no not 180 days, it is 90 days. ठीक है, so investment is disposed within 90 days. ठीक है, so option B only will be right answer for this particular one. ठीक है, so prior approval of RBI should not be required if investment in financial services companies are held under HFT category and are not held beyond 90 days. So if it is more than 90 days, in that case RBI approvals are must. ठीक है, तो अब इनको थोड़ा सा डिटेल में जाते हैं. So bank are required to take prior approval of RBI. कहाँ पे? Before taking investment in subsidiary and financial service company that is not a subsidiary. However, in following cases such prior approval shall not be necessary. तो यहाँ पे आपका requirement नहीं होगा. Apart from this, it is required. कहाँ पे requirement नहीं होगा? The investment in company engaged in financial services. The bank has minimum prescribed capital, including capital conversion buffers, and also made a net profit in the immediately preceding financial year. The shareholding of the bank, including the proposed investment, is less than 10% of the investee companies paid up capital. The aggregate shareholding of bank along with shareholdings if any, by the subsidiaries or joint ventures, and that is आपका less than 20%. ठीक है. If it may be explained that prior approval of RBI shall not be required if the investment in the financial services companies are held under HFT categories not more than आपका 90 days, so RBI approval is not required. As directed by RBI, prior permission of RBI are required to for making investment in non-financial services company if it exceed 10% of such investee company paid up share capital, where the investee company is engaged in non-financial services permitted for bank in term of section 6 of BR Act 1949. So if it is less than 10% or these are the condition, so RBI approval is not required. But if it going to exceed beyond that particular limit, so RBI approval is necessary in that case. Beside prior permission of RBI is also needed for before making investment of more than 10% of paid up capital or unit capital in category 1, category 2 alternative investment funds also. Okay, so these are some guidelines. So where it is not required and where it is required, so these are the situations. Okay, chalo, next question guys. Consider the following statement regarding the eligibility criteria for undertake primary dealership businesses. So if your bank is going to have some sort of primary dealership business as a service provider, so what are the eligibility criteria for that, so you can involve in this kind of business. ठीक है, तो primary dealership लेने के लिए क्या क्या eligibility criteria आपके होने चाहिए. A bank must have a minimum net owned fund of 500 crores. पहला गलत है, it is 1000 crores. ठीक है, 1000 crores. The bank must maintain minimum capital risk weight asset CRAR of 9%. This is true. ठीक है. The bank net non-performing asset must be less than 3%. True. And it should have profit records, profit making record for last. No, this is not 5 years, it is 3 years. ठीक है, तो हमें क्या पूछा गया आपका करेक्ट. सो ओनली स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट इज ऑप्शन 2. दीज टू स्टेटमेंट्स आर इनकरेक्ट. ठीक है, तो आपका ओनली 2. अच्छा, only 2 is not the option. These options. अच्छा, okay, what which of the अच्छा, okay, it is not correct, sorry. हाँ, क्वेश्चन में क्या पूछा गया, these which of the following statement is incorrect. तो incorrect कौन सा है आपका 1 and 3. 1 and 3 means आपका option C will be right answer for this particular question. ठीक है, so option C will be right answer for this particular one. Understood? So this is the one. So structure of primary dealership business has been expanded to include bank PDs जिनको हम लोग आपका बोलते हैं. ठीक है, so like bank they can have two type of primary dealers. One is dealership, one is the subsidiary as a subsidiary model. Another one is bank PDs. ठीक है, so and bank are fulfilling the following minimum eligibility criteria. One is minimum net owned funds 1000 crores. CRAR 9%. ठीक है, net मतलब it is minimum 9%. ठीक है, net non performing asset is not less आपका less than 3%. सॉरी. ठीक है, and आपका net NP is less than 3% and profit making for last 3 years. ठीक है, यहाँ वहां पर क्या लिखा था आपका 5 years. ठीक है, so these are the guide. There was one question based on this particular one in your just previous year paper itself. ठीक है, so primary dealers businesses. ठीक है, so primary dealership business for undertaking primary dealership businesses through a subsidiary, a bank should be registered as NBFC as an NBFC with RBI. For undertaking primary dealer business departmentally, the bank is required to register with RBI for the same. ठीक है, so in both the cases, like what is like one is bank, as I told you, key bank they can run primary dealership in two ways. One is they can establish one subsidiary and they can register that particular one as a non-bank finance company. ठीक है, which will get registered under Companies Act. ठीक है, the another one is if they want to run it as a departments or the bank PD, it is generally known as. ठीक है, so in that case they have to take a certification from the RBI itself. A primary dealer is an RBI registered entity that authorize in buying and selling of government security. This we already know. ये हमने कहीं पे तो discuss किया था ना. Primary dealership, I hope everybody knows this. They generally help. They mostly deal in money market, or even it can be for the other securities also. So they generally help buying and selling of government securities. So we have standalone and we have bank primary dealers. Standalone is kind of your subsidiary which will be registered as NBFC, and bank primary dealers aapka, they generally like bank itself, they have certification from the RBI. Okay? So standalone dealers are either subsidiaries of scheduled commercial bank, Indian subsidiaries of entities incorporated abroad, or companies incorporated under Companies Act 2013 or any prior one, and are registered as non-banking finance company. The permitted structure of primary dealers business have been expanded to include bank. So what is the requirements? 1000 crores, 9%, and net non-performing asset should be less than 3 years, and bank should be in profit for last 3 years. Okay? So that is the one. These criteria are applicable for all banks, namely like bank which do not present have partly or wholly owned subsidiary for primary dealer business. Indian bank currently undertaking primary dealer business through partly or wholly owned subsidiary. Then foreign bank also, they can also open these particular one. Undertake PD business departmentally by merging the PD business being undertaken by the group companies. So these are the guidelines. Again, very very important one. I'll give 2 star to this one. So examinations के लिए आपको थोड़ा सा जब revise करोगे तो याद रहेगा. ठीक है. So prudential norms. What are the prudential norms and regulation and supervisions about the primary dealers? ठीक है. So like if your bank is running primary dealer as a financial service, it can be bank PD or subsidiary. So these are the prudential guidelines. First, the capital adequacy and risk management guidelines will be as part of extant guidelines applicable to bank. For the purpose of assessing the bank capital adequacy requirement and coverage of risk management framework, PD activities should also be taken into account. Government dated securities and treasury bills, PD business will be included for bank SLR if they are notified by RBI as SLR security. The securitized classification, valuation and operation of investment portfolio guidelines as applicable to bank in regard of held for trading portfolio will also apply for the portfolio of government dated securities and treasury bills earmarked for the business of PD. Okay? So regulation and supervision, RBI instruct to primary dealers will apply to bank PDs. So the bank PDs होंगे, so RBI regulation will be applicable in this particular case. A bank have access to call money market, a refinance facility and liquidity adjustment facility LAF of RBI. Bank PD will not have separate access to these facilities and liquidity support available to standalone PDs. RBI will conduct on-site inspections of bank PD business under section 35 of RBI Act. BR Act, sorry. Bank PDs will be required to submit prescribed returns as advised by RBI from time to time. A bank PD should bring RBI attention any major complaint against it or action initiated taken against it by the authorities such as आपका SEBI, आपका CBI, Enforcement Department, Income Tax Department and all. Okay, so RBI will be handling that particular case, and they can have issue the winding up closures or the under section 38, or RBI can execute their right under section 38 of BR Act 1949. So these are again half marker questions. ठीक है, तो थोड़ा सा इनको भी आप लोग रिवाइज करेंगे बिफोर एंटरिंग इन योर एग्जामिनेशन हॉल. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट वन, which of the following instrument can bank underwrite as a part of para banking activities? So derivative and currency swap, no. क्या है, which of the following instrument can bank underwrite as a part of para banking activities? Corporate shares, debentures and PSUs, yes. Only government securities, only, not only. Real estate, no. So option B should be right answer for this particular one. Okay? So underwriting of issue of shares, like it is a kind of a merchant banking services provided by these same. bonds may be taking either departmentally or through other merchant banking subsidiary. Underwriting business undertaken departmentally and through a subsidiary shall be subject to prudential regulation for bank investment. Bank are permitted to extend underwriting activities for corporate shares and debentures and PSUs bonds as part of the parabanking activity. While underwriting issues like whenever any company come up with their public offer, IPO जब वो आपका वो लेके आते हैं, ठीक है, एज अ पार्ट ऑफ देयर मर्चेंट बैंकिंग एक्टिविटीज, जो हमने मर्चेंट बैंकिंग में काफी डिटेल में पढ़ा भी था, ठीक है, बैंक शुड नॉट एंश्योर द प्रूडेंशियल एक्सपोजर नॉर्म्स, ठीक है, prescribed by RBI from time to time, as well as statutory limit constrained under section 19 subsection 2 and subsection 3 of BR Act 1949 are strictly adhered to. Okay? So these are the guidelines which as a para banking or as a merchant banking you have to follow them. Okay? Next one. Which of the following statement about a bank participation in the insurance business are correct? तो ये हमने insurance services जो हमने last session में ही आपका discuss किया था. I hope you guys able to recall those particular point. A bank can undertake insurance business with risk participation only through a subsidiary or joint ventures. Yes, subsidiary or joint, you cannot directly involve in that particular one in case of India. A bank net non-performing asset must not exceed 3% to be eligible for starting up insurance subsidiary. True. A bank must have minimum net worth of 500 crore. No. Here also it is 1000 crores. 1000 crores आपका even after investing in the equity. No. So आपका this is wrong. A bank can act as an insurance broker departmentally, but the deposit required by IRDA must be maintained with itself. Okay? No. See, they can work as a departmentally, but the deposit required by IRDA must be maintained with not itself with other commercial bank. Okay? Other commercial bank. Okay? So this should be the right answer for this one. This is also wrong. Okay? A bank must ensure employee handling insurance broking or agency businesses have the necessary IRDA prescribed qualifications, or that is generally there are some certifications which are generally held by NISM, which are generally directed by IRDA itself, so they are required in this case. Okay? So what we have to find out, correct statement 1 3 5 1 3 5 1 3 5. Okay, a bank 135, we do not have 135 in this case. 125, sorry, 125, 1 2 and 5. Okay, 1 2 5 means option C will be right answer for this particular one. Yes, C is the right answer. So statement 3 was wrong. A bank net worth should be 1000 crore, okay, not 500 crores. Statement 4 was incorrect. Required must kept the another scheduled commercial bank, not with itself. Okay? So this is again a very important point. The first statement was right, but the another one, the required deposit must kept with another scheduled commercial bank, not with itself. Okay? So please go through these particular one also. They'll also help you out here. Now we will go through the guidelines. So insurance business. So bank, they can run this as an insurance business. So no bank shall undertake insurance business with risk participation except through subsidiary or joint ventures set up for the purpose of fulfillment of eligibility criteria 31st March of the previous year. The net worth 1000 crore, we discussed this. Minimum prescribed capital after investment. So this is the one, same thing. Its level of non-performing asset are not more than 3%. It has made a net profit of preceding 3 years. The track record of the performance of its subsidiaries, if any, is satisfactory. B is, so these are, our question was generally based on these particular statement. Undertaking insurance broking corporate agency by a subsidiary or joint venture, no bank shall set up a subsidiary or joint banking company undertaking insurance broker and corporate agency until unless they fulfill the eligibility criteria. So one is net worth not less than C. Now this is the difference. In case of if you are going as a so if you are going as a subsidiary in this particular case, and no bank shall set up subsidiary or joint ventures in this particular one. Broken this. So as a corporate agency, if you are going to, so it is आपका 5,000 crores after investing in the equity of such company. It comply with the conditions of 2, 3, 4, 2, 3 and 4, and insurance broking services departmentally. That is the next one. Like you can run it as a kind of your own department in that particular situation. Okay? So as per the bank, should obtain prior approval of RBI for making strategic investment in venture capital funds, investment equivalent to more than it is more than 10% only. So it is option B should be right answer for this particular one. So in view of significance of venture capital activities and the need for the bank involvement in financing venture capital fund, it is important to address the relatively higher risk inherent in such exposures. As such, bank should obtain a prior approval of RBI for making strategic investment on VCs more than 10%. Okay? So less than 10% not required. We discussed this particular one with our previous question. But if you are expanding more than that, so will be RBI approval will be required. Okay? So all exposure to VCF, okay, venture capital funds, will be deemed to be on par with equity on par with equity, and hence will be renowned for compliance with the capital market exposure ceiling and equity linked instruments, as well as ceiling for overall capital market exposure decided by SEBI itself. Okay? So quickly we will go through this. So investment in venture capital funds. So various aspects of venture capital funds have been dealt with in this particular one. So in view of the significant venture capital activities need banks involvement financing venture capital funds, is important to address these one. As is bank obtain prior approval of RBI if they want to increase their limit from more than 10%. All exposure to this that we discussed in our previous session. Okay, so this is the same line which we have read in our previous one. Okay, this is the one, right? Next one. What is the maximum lock-in period for investors availing of check writing facility in money market mutual funds? MMMF means money market mutual funds whose maturity is less than 1 year. Okay. So it is check writing facility is available for how many days? It is for 15 days. Okay. So investor can avail a check writing facility only after a minimum lock-in period of 15 days in money market mutual funds. However, this lock-in period does not apply to gilt as the gilt funds means government securities and liquid income schemes which are governed by SEBI regulations. Okay? So money market mutual funds come under the purview of SEBI regulation. However, bank desirous of setting up money market mutual funds would have to or initially seek necessary clearance from RBI for undertaking this additional activity before approaching to RBI for registration. Okay? Regulatory compliances basically. An infrastructure debt fund, a non-banking finance company, can sponsored by a bank only if contribution is at least it is 30%. Again, it is 30% or it is 30%. Okay, so it is 30%. A bank contributing less than 30% of equity of IDF will not be sponsored. IDF are investment vehicles for channelizing investment into the infrastructure sector. They are sponsored by commercial bank and NBFCs in India, in which domestic and offshore institutional investors, specifically especially insurance and pension funds, can invest through units and bond issued by the IDFs. Okay. Next one, REITs, which include the basic introduction, history, organization, type of REITs, differences between REITs and real estate mutual funds, advantages and disadvantages, comparison of various mode of investment in real estate, taxation and regulatory guidelines. The another subtopic is infrastructure investment trust, INVIT. That is आपका what is INVIT? Organization, rationale of setting INVIT, activity of INVIT, type of INVIT, advantages and disadvantages, revenue model, taxation and investment in INVIT. Okay, so basically we can say this topic is generally categorized between two areas. One is REITs, another one is INVIT. Okay, so now like you can expect 2 marks question based on this particular one. Okay, it is new for most of the candidates. Okay, or again one of the emerging product in our financial market, okay, which help investment in real estate industries, and like without owning the real estate properties, and also investor they can make a small investments by using these particular investments. Okay, so with the help of number of questions we are going to discuss this particular topic in detail. We'll spend like we will be covering each and every subtopics under these two major categories. Okay, so start karte hain with very first question on your screen. First, we will be discussing maximum question around the REITs. Then we will come to the INVIT as per your curriculum itself. So, which of the following statement regarding advantages of REITs is incorrect? So, REITs allow diversification beyond a traditional asset class like equity, debt, and gold. True. REITs require significantly higher initial investment compared to direct commercial real estate investment. This is incorrect. Yeah. So you can invest the minimum one. Yeah. So like the investment amount is like 15,000 itself. ठीक है, so 15,000 से आप यहाँ पे investment कर सकते हैं. So this statement is incorrect. ठीक है, REIT must distribute 90%, downside 90%, at least 90% of their rental income to the investors. Again, this is true. REIT are professionally managed, ensuring smooth operations without investor interventions. Again, this is the true. So, what will be your right answer? Option B will be right answer for this particular. With this particular question, we will be building our understanding toward this topic called REITs. Okay? So, if you talk about they do not have to invest, like even the amount is 15,000. So let's say we have two options. One is what we can do. We can purchase properties and all. Okay? Like we can purchase any residential house or commercial property and all. So they initially required a larger amount to acquire these particular. Even if we also go with the loan things and all, ठीक है, credit के हिसाब से भी अगर हम जाते हैं, ठीक है, by taking any home loan or commercial loan, so still we required higher amounts in that particular case as well. ठीक है, so like 25 to 30% down payments. Like if you are purchasing a house worth rupees 1 crore, that means you have to initially make a payment of 25 to 30 lakhs. Apart from that, registration and all, that will additionally increase that particular value by 5 lakh 10 lakhs. ठीक है, तो ये सारी चीजें जो आपको यहाँ पे देखने के लिए मिलेंगी. ठीक है, so REITs are investment vehicles that pool money from multiple investors to buy up, manage, and operate income generating real estate properties. They function similarly mutual funds but focus on real estate assets. ठीक है, जैसे like mutual funds के अंदर आपका we have SIPs and all these kind of things. So similarly here also you can purchase, like let's say कोई company आपका they are coming with the REITs, so they'll allocate the units. So where you can start with the 15,000 rupees itself, and you can make the like 10 to 15,000. Basically this is the range, but 15,000 is the minimum usually which we have the unit size and all. So कहीं ना कहीं आप वहाँ पे अपना like without actually owning that property, you can invest, you can have some share of that particular property. ठीक है, जैसे जैसे उसके prices बढ़ेंगे, उसके rentals बढ़ेंगे, you will also get benefited from that particular one. ठीक है, so allow investor to invest in real estate without directly owning the property. ठीक है, primarily invest in commercial properties, office spaces, shopping malls, hotels and warehouses. ठीक है, so basically these REITs जो भी आपके managers आपके होते हैं या जो funds आपके जो trustees हैं, they generally invest that particular money which is pooled from the investor in these many areas. ठीक है, तो जहां से सबसे ज्यादा returns की expectations होते हैं. ठीक है, generate returns through the rental income and capital appreciations. ठीक है, must distribute at least 90% of their income as dividend to the investors. Traded on stock exchanges, making them liquid and accessible compared to direct real estate investments and all. So these are generally comes under this particular one. ठीक है? तो REITs आपका एक option है लोगों के पास. Like it is like in Indian market, if you talk about the Indian market, okay, this is the latest product. Okay. Latest means it got introduced in 2012 around. Okay. But in US market or in another other developed nations, this concept is bit old, right? तो ये काफी समय से आपको वहां पे देखने के लिए मिलेगा. ठीक है. सो व्हाट आर द मेजर एडवांटेजेस ऑफ रीट्स के मेजर एडवांटेजेस क्या हैं? ठीक है. So lower investment requirement. Investor can gain exposure to real estate with a small amount instead of buying properties and all. As I told you, like 15,000. Liquidity. REITs can be easily bought and sold like stock exchanges or mutual funds units. Diversification. So you can have another investment opportunity. Let's say if you do not want to rely on only on the stock securities and all. Okay. So this is another options which is available to the investors. Okay. So reduce risk by investing in multiple properties, and even while that trustee they invest that particular one, they invest in multiple securities, multiple properties, so that we have some sort of kind of proper diversification in our portfolio. So investors का जो return है वो भी आपका manage किया जा सकता है as we do in mutual funds also, right? Regular income. Investor receive periodic dividend from the rental income in this particular one. As we discussed in our previous point कि at least 90% of rental income should be distributed among the investors in that particular REITs आपका. तो पहला जो ये है जिसको थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखेंगे. ठीक है. So now next question on your screen, guys. So you have to match the following. So now we have different types of REITs. I hope this is clearly visible. So these are the different type of REITs, like retail REITs, residential, healthcare, office, mortgage. And here we have given the definitions. So these are the 5 definitions. So you have to match this with this. Okay. So first, trust. We will go from these particular one. So trust that primarily invest in and operate healthcare focus real estate. So it is healthcare REIT. It is generally known as healthcare REIT. So healthcare REIT means आपका third. So for A it is third. Then second one is REIT that own and operate manufactured housing and rental apartments. So it is residential REIT. So residential REIT means second. So B का second होगा. Trust that can invest in offices and office and आपका earn income. So it is commercial REIT. So commercial REIT is there. ऑफिस रीड्स आपका. ठीक है. सो ऑप्शन 4 सी का 4 होगा आपका. ठीक है. रीड्स दैट रिक्वायर टू इन्वेस्ट एटलीस्ट 24% ऑफ देयर एसेट इनटू कमर्शियल आपका. ठीक है. सो इट इज मॉर्गेज रीट आपका. ठीक है. सो डी का आपका क्या होगा? डी का इज योर डी इज योर कमर्शियल रीट. Just a minute. 4 days. So क्या है आपका? REITs that require to invest, अच्छा okay, at least 24% of their asset into commercial. So it is retail REITs. ठीक है. Retail आपका retail. ठीक है. Retail है इसमें. हाँ okay, it should be 1. ठीक है. 1 का D means. ठीक है. Trust that invest amount 10% of asset into mortgage rather than the physical. So it is mortgage लिए. ठीक है. It is 5. ठीक है. तो कौन सा सही मैच हो रहा आपका? फर्स्ट का is D. फर्स्ट का D and second का is B and third का is healthcare is आपका third का A and office is means 4 आपका C and then we have mortgage. So mortgage is E. ठीक है. So mortgage is E. तो आपका D B A D, अच्छा पहला ही सही आएगा. D B A C and E. ठीक है. सो ऑप्शन A only will be right answer for this one. ठीक है. देखो बहुत ही सिंपल आपका क्वेश्चन है एंड ऐसे क्वेश्चन बहुत बार आपको एग्जामिनेशंस के अंदर देखने के लिए मिलेंगे. ठीक है. जस्ट नोइंग द बेसिक्स ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर वन यू विल बी एबल टू आंसर दिस वन. ठीक है. सो नाउ वी विल बी डिस्कसिंग दिस पर्टिकुलर वन इन डिटेल. with back-to-back two slides. Okay? So retail REITs, these are required to invest at least 24% of their assets into commercial retail, shopping malls, and freestanding retail store. ठीक है? Residential REIT आपका these real estate investment trust that own and operate manufactured housing as well as rental apartment building and gated communities or societies. Considering the never-ending demand for residential property in India, this is one of the most promising area for growth. Okay? Then next one we have healthcare REIT. Okay? It is very easy. Healthcare focused real estate. Okay? Office operate office spaces. Their main source of income is this type of REITs is rental received from the tenants under the long term lease agreements. Mortgage आपका ठीक है. So these REITs, an estimated 10% of investment are made into mortgage instead of physical real estate businesses. Okay, so these are the 5 different type of REITs. Very important one guys, एक बार दोबारा से देख लीजिए. ठीक है. So retail REITs आपका REITs required to invest 24% in this. ठीक है. Residential आपका which we healthcare, office, mortgage. ठीक है. So these are the 5 type of REITs which are available in the market. ठीक है. तो ये 5 टाइप आपके जो मेजर आपका रहेंगे. ठीक है. So based on the type of funding that provide REITs can be 3 type. ठीक है. So now the funding aspect, as per the funding aspect, REITs can be categorized among 3 parts. ठीक है. तो this is आपका basic classification. So one is equity REITs. ठीक है. They are owners of real estate properties and lease them to companies or individual to make money. The income in the distributed among the REIT investors as dividend. Equity. ठीक है. So the real owners, they generally let their properties on the lease itself. Okay. Then we have mortgage REIT. Okay. They are not owners but earn through EMI against the property from the owners and builders. The earnings are via a net interest margin (NIM), which they distribute among the REIT investors as dividend. Then final one is hybrid. These REITs are kind of a combination of इक्विटी एंड मॉर्गेज रीच. ठीक है. तो ये आपका जो दूसरा क्लासिफिकेशन आपको यहाँ पे देखने के लिए मिलेगा. सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट गाइस, प्लीज डू रिमेंबर दीज 5 टाइप्स. इजी है, वन टाइम गो आपका रहेगा, एक दो बार प्रैक्टिस करोगे. एंड द अनदर टाइप ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ इफ यू डू द कैटेगराइज बेस्ड ऑन टाइप ऑफ फंडिंग्स. ठीक है. सो फर्दर कैटेगराइजेशन एंड दैट इज अमंग 3 पार्ट्स. ठीक है. चलो नेक्स्ट वन आपका, consider the following statement about REITs and their benefit. So I hope now you will be able to answer this question. Easy one. So the diversification of a REITs help investor to mitigate risk associated with direct real estate business. True. First, capital gain in REITs depends solely on rental income. No, not solely on rental income. It is also the value of stock. So this is wrong. Professional management of REITs own properties reduce operational burden on investment. True. So these two are true. REITs guarantee return. No, these are kind of again it is subject matter of market risk. If the properties prices decline or if the rentals decline in the market, so their value will also come down. Okay? So there is as such no guarantee provided by, or there is as such no fixed return is provided by the REITs trust. Okay, so this is also wrong. So what we have to find out correct. So that means 1 and 3. 1 and 3 means option B will be right answer for this particular question. Okay? So why option 2 and 4 is incorrect? So capital gain in REITs depend on both stock market performance and rental income, not just rental income alone. And REITs do not guarantee return. They are subject to market fluctuations, property value changes, and rental income variations. There is as such no fixed return is available in this particular case as well. So now we will be discussing these all advantages from REITs in detail. First, so आपका diversification. REITs allow an investor to diversify the investment portfolio through exposure to real estate. So like let's say if we talk about the Indian investors, so real estate become their first choice. ठीक है, आज भी मतलब रियल एस्टेट में या घर खरीदना ये जो सारी चीजें आपके होती है जिसमें काफी बड़ी प्रेफरेंसेस आपकी होती है इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए. But there are investors who do not have that much of money. So what they can do, they can invest some portion of their money in the REITs, so they can have a proper diversification in उनके जो thoughts हैं about the properties prices and all, so they can meet with them itself, right? So without the hassle related to owning and managing commercial properties, this diversification allow an investor to go beyond usual asset classes like equity, debt, gold, and other options where we usually invest, right? Then we have a small initial investment. Okay, so you can start with the 15,000 things and all, okay, that we have discussed here. Professional management. So like in case of mutual funds, we have fund managers. Similarly here also, okay, in case of REITs investments and all, okay, they trustee, they have the management team. So properties owned by REITs are managed professionally. This ensures smooth operation and with no effort on the part of investor toward the managing commercial real estate things and all, okay, which is a trending where we can have the maximum return and all, okay. So that is generally taken care by the REITs fund itself, okay. Regular income generation, because they are distributing 90 downside 90% of the income among the आपका investees or the real estate or the REITs owners. Okay. So REITs generate income from rental collections and are required to mandatorily distribute 90% of this income to investors as dividend and interest payments. Okay. In this way, REITs provide regular income to the investors. Okay. Capital gain आपका, so we have short term and long term capital gain applicability. Okay. So if you own for 3 years, 3 साल या उससे पहले अगर आप सेल करते हैं, so the short term capital gain will be applicable. 3 years equal to 36 months. If you sell that particular REITs before that, so capital gain will be 15%. If you sell that particular one more than that time frame, ठीक है, so 3 साल के बाद अगर आप उसको sell out करेंगे, it comes under the long term capital gain and the tax rate is 10%. ठीक है, so REITs are listed and traded on stock and their prices depend on their performance. And REITs that perform well can potentially increase in the value time and be sold for a profit. This provide capital gain to the okay, this is not about the capital gain tax. What I told you, that is about the capital gain tax. Okay, capital gain tax, how we calculate this is less than 3 years, more than 3 years. Less than 3 years, short term capital gains 36 months 15%, and more than that it is 10 long term capital gain 10%. We'll practice question based on that particular one also, and very important. Okay. What are the major disadvantages? क्या disadvantages हो सकते हैं ऐसे investments के साथ आपका? So we have limited options. Currently there are only few REITs in India. This significantly limit the choices. Low liquidity. While REITs are listed and traded on stock market, the number of market participants is currently low. So with respect to retail investors, as a result, selling REITs investment profitably might be challenging, especially in case of any emergency or stressful situation or any sort of disruptions in the market. So these are some major or common challenges which we may face with this particular market. ठीक है, चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं. Next one, which of the following statement is about the organization of INVIT is true? So now the question is about INVIT. So infrastructure investment trust के संबंध में कौन सा statement सही है? ठीक है, so INVIT have a tier management structure which includes sponsor, yes, manager and trustee. ठीक है, this is true. So अगर आप INVIT के organizational structure को देखते हैं, so they have involvement from sponsors and आपका managers and trustee. This is kind of a 3-layer thing. Sponsor are required to hold a minimum 15% stake in the INVIT for at least for 3 years. Okay. This is also true. Acha, okay, we missed one another statement here. This is true, and this statement is also true. 15% stake in the INVIT for at least for 3 years. This is 100% true. And INVIT can have maximum 5 sponsors. No, it is wrong. They can have maximum 3 sponsors. Okay, so that means option B is wrong. Okay. The investment manager of INVIT is responsible for making new investment decision and ensuring existing investment meet return expectations. 100% true. Again, a SEBI approved trustee manages the assets of an INVIT and oversee the activities of the INVIT. This is also true. Okay. So only statement incorrect is B. So A, C, D, E. A, C, D, E. That means option A should be right answer for this particular one. Okay. So option A, yes. Okay. The only statement which we have discussed that was wrong, that is about an INVIT can have maximum 3 sponsors, not the 5. Okay. Usually a sponsor is an infrastructure development company that originally built, own, or operate the infrastructure asset of the trust. As per the current regulation, INVIT sponsors are mandatorily required to hold minimum 15% stake in trust at least for 3 years. This was correct here. And INVIT has two type of managers, an investment manager and a project manager. The investment manager of the infrastructure trust is responsible for ensuring that existing investments of the INVIT are providing returns as expectations. The investment manager is also responsible for making new investment decisions on behalf of the trust to ensure further growth of the trust. The project manager, the other manager which is involved in this, is usually a company a DRAT specialized in developing and operating our infrastructure project. Okay? So the key responsibilities of project manager include ensuring smooth operation in case of completed project of the trust, as well as timely delivery timely delivery of under construction project and all. Okay? A SEBI approval trustee is a company that has proven track records of providing trustship services. Key responsibilities of trustee include holding the asset of an INVIT trustship to safeguard the interest of the unit holders. Other responsibilities of INVIT trust include ensuring timely distribution of dividend to unit holders and overseeing the activity of INVIT managers. Okay, so this is a subtopic which is called organization for INVIT. तो बहुत सारे डिटेलिंग्स जो आपको यहाँ पे देखने के लिए मिलेंगे. ठीक है. So I request to all of you, please do revise these particular things. They are definitely going to help you out in your upcoming examination. Next one. Which of the following statement is true according to SEBI's regulations governing REITs? SEBI regulation about the REITs governance. Investment trust must ensure that at least 60% of their assets are invested in completed and revenue generating project. No, not 60%. Okay. So they have to invest at least 80%. Okay. So 80% of their assets are invested among the completed as well as the revenue, where like that like the interest income or that rental income is getting started. So that is the one thing. So any infrastructure project like highways, dam and all. The other one, sponsor to hold up to hold not less than 25% of the total unit of the investment trust initial offers on a post issue basis for at least 3 years from the date of listing. So if you are listing that particular INVIT in the market, so as per the SEBI prudential requirements, so basically the sponsors, they have to hold at not less than 25% of total units for 3 years. This is 100% true. So this is true, this is wrong. That means option B will be right answer for this particular one. Again, a very like focused reading is required in this particular case also. So real estate investment trust REITs are trust, sorry, Okay. So, real estate investment trust REITs are a trust registered under regulation, which are incorporated to provide an opportunity to invest in real estate equity options by eliminating the elaborate investment procedures involved in real estate industry. They are governed by SEBI Real Estate Investment Trust 2014. Please do remember this one. ठीक है? So ये आपका trust, ठीक है? And amendments to same issued thereafter. ठीक है? Some of the important regulations are these. ठीक है? The SEBI regulations are related to REITs. Sorry, huh? I guess I told INVIT in some ways. ठीक है? So, sponsor to hold up not less than 25% of the total units of the investment trust after initial offer for a post issue basis at least for 3 years. Okay? From the date of the listing of such units, investment trust to invest not less than 80%, okay? Not less than 80% of the value is completed and revenue generating project and not more than 10% in under construction project. Okay? So two things, one is for under construction not more than 10%, and the another part is where the project are already completed and they have start generating revenues or income. Let's say there is a commercial house, a commercial society, ठीक है, जहाँ पे that is built and people they have moved in that particular society. So ऐसी सोसाइटीज के अंदर या ऐसे जो कमर्शियल शॉप्स एंड ऑल है वहां पे यू हैव टू इन्वेस्ट एटलीस्ट 80% ऑफ योर ओवरऑल मनी कलेक्टेड और पूल्ड फ्रॉम द इन्वेस्टर्स. ठीक है, so that will अंडर कंस्ट्रक्शन का लिमिट इज मैक्सिमम 10%. यू कैन नॉट गो बियॉन्ड दैट पर्टिकुलर वन. ठीक है, इन्वेस्टमेंट ट्रस्ट टू होल्ड एसेट्स ईदर डायरेक्टली और थ्रू स्पेशल पर्पस व्हीकल्स. ठीक है, investment trust to hold controlling interest and not less than 50% of the equity shares capital or interest in the special purpose vehicles except in the case of public private partnership project. SPV to hold up not less than 80% of the asset directly in properties and not invest in other than SPPs. SPPs not to engage in any activity other than those pertaining and incidental to the underlying project. So again a set of guidelines, ठीक है, तो जो थोड़ा सा important है आपके examinations के लिए. And believe me guys, if we'll give you this type of question, for sure this will be for 2 marks. ठीक है, but what I experienced in last 4-5 years, जब भी उन्होंने रीड्स एंड INVIT दोनों को ही उन्होंने टेस्ट किया आपके पेपर में एंड फॉर 1 मार्क्स ईच. ठीक है, तो ये आपका सेम गाइडलाइंस विच वी हैव डिस्कस. स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ स्पॉन्सर टू होल्ड not less than 25% of total this. ठीक है, and investment trust invest not less than 80% the completed and revenue generating things. ठीक है, investment trust to hold assets either directly or through special purpose vehicles. ठीक है, same things which we have discussed with our previous slide. ठीक है, again very important one guys. ठीक है, so this these things we have discussed, this and this. ठीक है, now if you talk about these stipulations to ensure transparency, trust to hold assets for the benefit of unit holders, oversee activities and ensure compliances with respect to reporting and disclosure requirements of full valuations to the to be conducted by the independent valuer at least once in a year. Again very important, all related party transactions to be on an arm's length basis. So these distribution requirements, so not less than 90% of net distributable cash flow of SPV to be distributed to investments trust in proportion to holding of SPV, subject to applicable provisions of Companies Act 2013 or the Limited Liability Partnership Act 2008. Not less than 90% of net distributable cash flow of the investment trust to be distributed to unit holders. तो जैसे हमने पहले भी इसके around, this is the classification, like they have to distribute at least 90% of their overall earnings or the interest and the rental incomes among the unit holders. ठीक है, this is the primary rule. And same things which is लाइक जो लीगल डेफिनेशन है आपका उसके अराउंड आपको देखने के लिए मिलेगा, ठीक है। इन्वेस्टमेंट रेगुलेशंस टू इम्प्रूव लिक्विडिटी इन रीट्स and bring in more listing. SEBI recently announced that the minimum investment amount in REITs is brought down 15,000 with revised trading lot at 1 units. The earlier it was 50,000 and the trading lot is 200 unit in secondary market. Okay? So trading lot is 200. That means if you make investment, so 15,000 into 200. Earlier it was 50,000 into 200. Okay? So whenever you enter in these kind of contract, so what will be your investment? So that will be in lot size, and lot size is something like this. Now earlier the 1 unit per unit cost was 15,000. So 15,000, sorry, 50,000, 50,000 into 200. Now it is 15,000 to आपका 200. ठीक है, the basic lot size. Next one. When was the first REITs established in India? 2017 was the year. Okay. And Embassy REITs was the name of that particular company. जितना मेरे को याद है, yes, हाँ, ठीक है. So REITs were first introduced by Securities and Exchange Board of India in 2007, almost 50 years after they have incorporated in the investment. Okay. So introduction was happened in 2017, but the first Indian REIT was established in 2017 called Embassy REIT, and its IPO was open in March 2018 आपका, ठीक है. So again थोड़ा history आपका देख लेते हैं, ठीक है. Usually you'll see very mere question on history, and whenever they'll ask this type of question for half marker and all. So REITs is structured on line of mutual funds, was first introduced in USA in 1960s. देखो मतलब जो डेवलप नेशन है वहाँ पे बहुत ही ज़्यादा फेमस रहा है आपका ये प्रोडक्ट. 1960s में ही आपका लॉन्च हो गया था यूएसए में, थ्रू द सिगार एक्सरसाइज टैक्स एक्सटेंशन एक्ट, ठीक है, एंड act in order to boost the real estate development by way of existing investments from the investor interested in holding stake in real estate sectors and all. REITs was first introduced in India by SEBI in 2007. Almost 50 after year this. The first REITs of India was established in 2017 and the name is Embassy REIT. Please do remember this. ठीक है, तो इंडिया का पहला जो REITs था इसका ज़्यादा आपको फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. This is a point which they can ask in your upcoming examination. So first REITs in India was established was Embassy REIT in 2007 and they come up with their IPO in 2018. Subsequently there were regulation framed to facilitate the operational fluctuation, operational functions of these investment, which were revised and reformed after that. REITs companies listed on Indian stock exchanges are monitored and regulated by SEBI. Please do remember this also, though we have discussed this thing earlier also. So they are part of stock market product. That means the regulation or the governance will be done by SEBI itself to ensure adherence to industry practices by the REITs and safeguard the interest of investor. That is the only motive of SEBI, to regulate this particular things. All right. चलो तो आगे बढ़ते हैं, ठीक है. नेक्स्ट वन. नाउ आई होप एवरीबडी विल बी एबल टू आंसर दिस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन, ठीक है. So what is the tax rate for short-term capital gain to the sale of INVIT? So what will be your correct answer? 15%. Even it is in both the cases, the REITs as well as INVIT. If you are selling those particular units before 3 years, 3 years, so if you are selling before 3 years, so it is आपका the short term capital gain will be applicable at the rate of 15%. And if you are holding or selling after 3 years, more than 36 months, so your long term capital gain will be applicable at the rate of 10%. Please do remember this particular one. So many times this question get asked in your examination. So option C will be right answer. So capital gain taxation rule are applicable only when the REITs units are sold. If investor has invested in INVIT for a period up to 3 years, for a period up to 3 years or less than 36 months prior to the sales, short-term capital gain taxation rule are applicable. The short capital gain is 15% of the profit made by the sale of INVIT unit. On the other hand, if the investor hold beyond 3 years, so and it will be long term capital gain, and long term capital gain is how much? 10%. ठीक है, so please do remember this particular one. ये बहुत ज्यादा बात पूछा गया है, ठीक है, तो ध्यान रखेंगे सभी लोग, ठीक है. So taxation benefits, if you talk about this, so REITs के लिए आपका this question was based on INVIT ना, ठीक है. हाँ, INVIT का था. So again same things you will see in the case of आपका रीड्स ऑल्सो, ठीक है, ये गलती से यहाँ पे आ गया, ठीक है. सो इन केस ऑफ इफ यू टॉक अबाउट दी INVIT, सो अभी हमने डिस्कस किया, सेम आपको यहाँ पे भी मिलेगा. सो कैपिटल गेन फ्रॉम द सेल ऑफ रीड्स. अच्छा, ओके, आई जस्ट वांट टू डिस्कस दिस, मैंने ये इसीलिए यहाँ पे रखा था. यूनिट्स आर कवर्ड अंडर शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन्स एंड लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल गेन्स. शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन इज अ पीरियड होल्डिंग a unit 1 year or less the date of units allocated. So short term capital gain is 18% and holding more than 1 year. So there is one difference between these two. In case of INVIT, the period is 3 years and more. In case of your INVIT, in case of REITs, it is आपका 1 year, less than 1 year and more than 1 year. Sorry, ठीक है, and the rate is same, ठीक है. So 10% आपका in case of short term capital gain 15%, in case of long term capital gain 10%, in excess of 1 lakh across all equity investment for the applicable financial years with no indexation benefits. ठीक है, so जैसे in case of INVIT, what was the what is the criteria for the your REITs things आपका, तो यहाँ पे criteria क्या है कि if you hold that particular asset for 3 years, up to 3 years or 36 months, less than that, ठीक है, so short term capital gain will be applicable at the rate of 15%. If you sold after that, let's say you sold in 5th years, so long term capital gain will be applicable and the rate is 10%. In case of your REITs, if you hold that particular hold those particular units for less than 1 years, 12 months, 10%, 15% short term capital gain, rate is same in both the cases. And if you hold more than that, it is आपका long term capital gain 1 years, more than 1 years long term capital gain at the rate of 10%. And even it is in excess of rupees 1 lakh, and it will consider your other equity investment during that particular period. Okay, so that is the one. All right, so which of the following is not one of the 5 type of INVIT based on type of infrastructure they own or operate? So energy we do have, such as power generation and distribution. Power Grid Incorporation was the very first company who got listed in this particular one. Transport and logistics, again it is comes under this. Residential is they are not generally part of this one. So infrastructure do not include this residential things. Communication, yes, आपका optical fiber networks and all, they also comes under this. So option C will be right answer for this one. Okay, so we have these 5 categories: energy, transport and logistics, we have communications, we have social and commercial infrastructure, and we have water and sanitation. So as per the infrastructure basis, so the 5 categories as per the SEBI guidelines, they are categorized under this one. Okay, so as per the current SEBI regulations, INVIT can be divided among 5 type of 5 type depending on the type of infrastructure. So they are energy, transport, communication, social communication, water and sanitation. From the viewpoint of sources of funds, they are categorized between 2 parts. One is public listed INVIT, another one is प्राइवेटली हेल्ड INVIT. अगेन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स. ठीक है, तो यहाँ से थोड़ा सा ना आपको ये टॉपिक आई सजेस्ट कि एक बार रिवाइज कीजिएगा, एंड इवन वंस आई शेयर दिस PDF ऑल्सो ना, तो PDFs को थोड़ा सा अच्छे से गो थ्रू करें, उससे भी आपको ये बहुत ज्यादा हेल्प करेगा. जो सोल्यूशन पार्ट है उसको थोड़ा सा डिस्कस करें. ठीक है, नाउ द प्रैक्टिस क्वेश्चन अब ये सबसे बन जाएगा. ठीक है, सो अकॉर्डिंग टू SEBI रेगुलेशंस, INVIT कैन बी कैटेगराइज्ड बेस्ड ऑन देयर सोर्सेज ऑफ फंड्स. तो हमारे पास 2 तरीके से होते हैं. एक आपका है पब्लिक लिस्टेड आपका, ठीक है, दूसरा क्या है प्राइवेटली हेल्ड, विच वाज द लास्ट लाइन ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर वन, जहां से ये क्वेश्चन हमने आपका बनाया था. ठीक है, तो दिस इज द वन. ठीक है, so public listed INVIT like traded on stock exchanges open to retail investor and institutional buyers. Privately, it is owned by select institutional or high net worth individuals, right? Next one. What is one of the main reason for infrastructure firms from an infrastructure investment trust? What is one of the main reason infrastructure firms form and INVIT? Because it become an alternative source of funds, and they are kind of they are not taking any debt burden from the market. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे generally क्या हो रहा है, infrastructure companies they come up with these kind of INVITs and they are not raising debt, they are sharing their ownership in those particular one. ठीक है, तो उनकी debt obligations थोड़ा सा कम हो जाती है. To reduce construction cost, no, there is no relation between this. To increase debt level and expand operation, no, it is not increasing debt. To raise money from multiple investors without incurring debt, yes, 100% true. Okay. To convert infrastructure project into commercial real estate, no. Okay. So option C, forming and INVIT allow infrastructure companies to raise money from multiple retail and infrastructure institutional investors without taking on additional debt. This essential because infrastructure projects require high initial investment and have long recovery period, so leading to high debt levels if alternative funding is not secured in that case. ठीक है, so benefits अगर हम लोग बात करें या rationals आपका why we build these particular one. ठीक है, so it is, the question was about based on your rationale for setting up INVITs by the infrastructure companies. So building infrastructure project जैसे आपके होता है ना, जैसे कोई डैम बना रहे हैं या कोई एयरपोर्ट बना रहे हैं या कोई हाईवेज बना रहे हैं, ठीक है, दे जनरली टेक टाइम लाइक 5 years 6 years और इवन मोर देन दैट ऑल्सो इन सम केसेस. तो कहीं ना कहीं वी नीड अ ह्यूज अमाउंट इन दैट पर्टिकुलर वन, एंड अगर हम ज़्यादा डेट लेंगे ज़्यादा पीरियड के लिए, ऑब्वियसली विल हैव सम इंटरेस्ट बर्डन ऑन योर ऑन द कंपनी शोल्डर्स. ठीक है, सो दे कैन come up, this is a kind of an alternative source of finance to those particular companies. Okay? So building infrastructure projects such as road, highways, power distribution networks, seaport, airports and all are expensive and require a significant amount of initial investment. They are also long duration activities, both executing the project as well as the operating the project. Due to long period over which invested capital is recovered, this is this. So by forming an INVIT and selling units, an infrastructure development company is able to raise money from multiple retail and institutional investors. The infrastructure company can use this money to pay off existing debt, or even they can pay off the existing debt, purchase new asset, and to complete under construction project to grow its business further. Trust get a variety of tax benefit not available to corporations. Hence, by forming an INVIT, an infrastructure company can have access to various tax benefit, which can potentially increase the post-tax revenue of the company. This extra revenue can also help the company to grow its business further. So this is the advantages of INVIT to the trust or the infrastructure companies. Next one. Which of the following is a key benefit of investing in INVIT? It is for investor actually. So what key benefit investor they generally get after they make their investment in INVITs or after you are purchasing INVITs unit? So investor gain full ownership. No, not full ownership. Investor receive regular income through a mandatory payout. It can be. So INVIT can completely risk free. No. So 90% वाला clause लागू होता है. INVIT can only be purchased by institutional investor. No. Option B will be right answer. Okay. So INVIT must distribute at least 90% of their income through the dividend and interest payouts. ठीक है, on a biannual basis. ठीक है, every 6 months आपका ये जो distribution होता है, it is on interval of आपका कितना 6 मंथ. ठीक है, हर 6 महीने में उनको पे आउट करना होता है. दिस मेक देम अट्रैक्टिव टू इन्वेस्टर्स लुकिंग फॉर स्टेबल एंड रेगुलर इनकम्स. ठीक है, तो क्या क्या बेनिफिट्स हैं आपका विद INVIT? ठीक है, सो वन इज डाइवर्सिफिकेशन. एज ए इन्वेस्टर यू कैन हैव डाइवर्सिफिकेशन इन योर पोर्टफोलियो. ठीक है, so investors seeking diversify their investment can choose INVIT through This route in INVIT allow investor to assume part ownership in infrastructure project, and this help them to diversify the investment. Regular income आपका distribute INVIT have to mandatorily distribute at least 90% of income dividend and interest on biannual basis. ठीक है, बहुत बार पूछा गया, प्लीज ध्यान रखिएगा इसको. ठीक है, प्रोफेशनल मैनेजमेंट फ्रॉम द ट्रस्टी. ठीक है, एंड कैपिटल गेन बेनिफिट्स. ठीक है, एंड वी हैव सो कैपिटल गेन इज लाइक, capital gain is simple आपका कि like you are investing at lower price and you're getting you are selling at higher price, so that is capital gain. ठीक है, reduction in minimum subscription, so it is 1 lakh now. ठीक है, please do remember this. For REITs it is 15,000. ये बहुत बार पूछा जाता है छोटे छोटे चीजें आपका लिमिट्स. एंड फॉर INVIT it is 1 lakh, कहीं पे लिखा होगा इसमें. ठीक है, so capital market regulation reduce the minimum investment limit on REITs, thereby making them more easily accessible. The minimum subscription limit for investing in INVIT was reduced from 10 lakh to 1 lakh. ठीक है, कितना है आपका? You can make an investment of 1 lakh rupees. Earlier it was 10 lakh. Earlier means 2019 before. ठीक है, so now the next one. Which of the following is the first INVIT infrastructure investment trust of public sector entity? Public sector entity, it was Power Grid. ठीक है, so Power Grid Corporation. ठीक है, so Power Grid Corporation. India has seen a number of INVIT transactions over last few years. According to government reports, the total asset under management is across 8 active INVIT around 1.4 lakh crores. Bulk of assets are like this data is belongs to, मतलब मैकमिलन का बुक मैंने इसीलिए लिया था कि they'll never ask question based on this particular one. Reason being कि आपका this is a kind of outdated data, but this is part of book. I cannot take any chance in that case. तो ये the book got published in 2023. That means the building happened in 2021 and 22. तो उसके अराउंड का आपको ये मिलेगा. Followed by the telecom this. The first, this is the useful information. The first आपका INVIT to public sector entity Power Grid Corporation has been recently launched in the market. The issue has monetized asset worth rupees 7,800 crores, and Power Grid Corporation has divested 85% of its unit holding to the INVIT. ठीक है, तो ये आपका completely वहां पे जो shift हुए. What is the distinguishing feature between REITs compared to real estate mutual funds? ठीक है, so real estate mutual fund is kind of a sectorial funds. ठीक है, कि जहाँ पे that fund manager is investing your money in the real estate companies. Simple सा. ठीक है, but REITs is kind of कि जहाँ पे like हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं आपका, again we are having investment in that particular one, but the constructed companies and all. ठीक है, during time of inflation REITs provide better return to investor. बिल्कुल ऐसा होगा. देखो ये बहुत अच्छा statement यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है, and this is true. ठीक है, this is the true about REITs. What happen कि अगर इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ेगा तो जो रेंटल इनकम है, ठीक है, दैट विल आल्सो इंक्रीज, तो आपका कहीं ना कहीं जो अर्निंग्स होगी दैट विल आल्सो इंक्रीज इन दैट केस. ठीक है, वाइडर डाइवर्सिफिकेशन द रियल एस्टेट म्यूचुअल फंड्स. REITs distribute, in case of mutual funds we can have like a wider diversification because that is done. What is distinguished features within this, or even it can be same in both the cases. REITs distribute lower dividends yield. No, it is not that. So option A only should be right answer for this one. Okay? This is 100% wrong. Okay? And in both the cases we can have wider diversification. I'll go with option A. Yes. So real estate mutual funds offer wider diversification than REITs based on the investment strategy, okay, and have the benefit of experts and professional managing their portfolios unlike REITs. So what is this point means? Okay, so when we invest in real estate mutual funds, what manager is doing, fund manager, they are investing your money only in real estate companies. But see what they can do, let's say we have 1 crore rupees to invest, they can invest that particular amount in 100 companies. ठीक है, उनके छोटे छोटे यूनिट्स आपका परचेज करके. But in INVIT, in case of REITs, what we generally do, we generally invest in commercial properties. तो वहां पे वो थोड़ा सा एक लिमिटेड स्कोप के अंदर आपका आ जाता है. That is the meaning of this one. ठीक है, but our comparison was REITs versus that, so that's why option A is the right answer for this one. Okay. The value of real estate tend to increase during time of inflation as property prices and rent goes up. अगर inflation बढ़ेगा तो ये भी automatically आपके बढ़ेंगे, ठीक है. This giving a better return to the REIT investors. As such, REIT distribute a higher amount of dividend every year, like 90% आपका जो हमने अभी discussion किया था, ठीक है. Under what condition are capital gain from REITs unit exempted from tax in India? So, capital gain on REITs. Unit held for more than 2 years and holding up through stock exchange. Unit held for more than 3 years and sold through a stock exchange. Unit held for more than 1 year. Uh, condition capital gain on REITs units exempted. It should be unit held for more than 3 years and holding through stock exchange. This can be your best fit for this one. I'll just check this one. Yes, it is. So invest in real estate or infrastructure without actually owning this. Benefit from favorable tax norms, tax exempt dividend incomes. No capital gain if unit are hold for more than 3 years. ठीक है. आपका less than 1 year short term capital gain, more than 1 year आपका long term capital gain, but if you hold that particular one for more than 3 years, no tax no capital gain will be applicable, ठीक है. And sold through stock exchanges without holding tax at 5% of interest income to the residential unit holders. Next one, if an investor held INVIT units over how many years, that's many years, before selling them, long-term capital gain taxation rules are applicable. तो long-term capital gain INVIT का केस है, तो over 3 years आपका and the rate is 10% of long-term exceeding rupees 1 lakh. ठीक है, तो ये आपका होना चाहिए 310 55310 नहीं. So option D should be right answer for this particular one. ठीक है, तो ये थोड़ा सा इंपॉर्टेंट है, प्लीज ये हमने बहुत बार डिस्कशन भी किया और कई बार आप INVIT एंड रीट्स में कंफ्यूज भी हो सकता है, बट थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखें, रीट्स इज लाइक कि आपका लेस देन 1 year, मोर देन 1 year, शॉर्ट टर्म लॉन्ग टर्म, ठीक है. एंड इन केस ऑफ INVIT इट इज 36 months और मोर देन दैट, ठीक है, जो शॉर्ट टर्म एंड ऑल. टैक्स रेट्स आर आपका सिमिलर इन बोथ द केसेस, ठीक है. INVIT में in case of REITs, one another option is available. If you hold those particular asset for more than 3 years and you sell it through stock exchanges, no capital gain will be required. Okay? So tax on capital gain, this we have discussed earlier also. Okay? And the आपका जो threshold is 1 lakh. That please do remember that one also. Okay? What is the minimum investment required for investing in INVIT? It is 1 lakh. Okay? So it is earlier it was 10 lakh. Earlier means 2019. We have gone through this particular one. ठीक है. So अभी कितना है 1 lakh. ठीक है. और in case of, if this is about the INVIT, in case of REITs it is 15,000. Earlier it was 50,000. So 15,000 into a lot of 200. Earlier it was 50,000 into a lot of 500. आपका 200. ठीक है. So lot size is same, but they change the denomination or per unit cost from 50,000 to 15,000. Okay, for this 1 lakh is the right answer, and we have discussed this particular one earlier also. Next one, okay, this is it. So REITs versus INVIT, very important one, interesting one, and I hope you found this particular topic interesting. So emerging product हैं, जितने भी emerging product हैं like आपका like this or derivatives और venture capitals, ये जो मतलब जो ट्रेंडिंग चीजें होती हैं, जो नई नई चीजें आपका मार्केट में आ रही हैं, एंड वेयर आर बैंक इज आल्सो पार्टिसिपेटिंग थ्रू द डायरेक्ट बैंकिंग चैनल्स और थ्रू द एडिशनल फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज प्रोवाइडेड बाय बैंक इटसेल्फ, ठीक है, पैरा बैंकिंग एंड ऑल, ठीक है. तो वो सारी चीजें आपको बहुत ज्यादा पूछी जाती हैं एग्जामिनेशंस के अंदर, सो यू हैव टू बी वेरी केयरफुल अबाउट दोस पर्टिकुलर वन. एंड विद दिस वी हैव डन विद आवर मॉड्यूल डी. आई होप all things are clear with this particular one. Soon I'll come up with those who are part of the applications. Okay, so I'll allow you one options to go through that module wise mock. So now what you can do, you can give our module wise mock for module D. सो एक और मॉक आपको मिलेगा जहां पे हम मॉड्यूल यूनिट वाइज आपका, ठीक है, ऑल द 17 यूनिट्स का एक मॉक बनाएंगे 2-3 घंटे के लिए, ठीक है। सो लाइक व्हाट आई जनरली यूजुअली डू कि आप उसमें ना अनलिमिटेड अटेम्प्ट्स होते हैं। सो लेट्स से कभी भी आप फ्री बैठे होते हैं, कुछ भी होते हैं, मोबाइल में आपका आप अपने आंसर्स को देते जा सकते हैं, एंड कहीं ना कहीं आपका जो एक्सप्लेनेशन पार्ट है उससे कहीं ना कहीं आप क्या कर सकते हैं, अपने आंसर्स को मैच कर सकते हैं, और कोई भी डाउट होता है तो वो आप मेरे साथ शेयर भी कर सकते हैं, ठीक है दोस्तों। तो आज के लिए इतना ही करेंगे। आई विल सी यू टुमारो एट सेम टाइम एंड विल बी डिस्कसिंग और स्टार्टिंग विद आर मॉड्यूल सी। आपका और उन यूनिट वाइज आपका प्रैक्टिस, मॉड्यूल सी विल नॉट टेक मच टाइम, ठीक है, एंड ए एंड बी विल टेक इक्वली टाइम, बट डी वॉज लाइक कि आपने डी कर लिया, दैट मीन्स 35 मार्क्स के जो कवरेज है आपका आने वाले एग्जामिनेशन की, दैट इज फ्रॉम दिस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक, डाउन साइड 35 मार्क्स आई एम टेलिंग यू, ठीक है। तो बिल्कुल अच्छे से पढ़ लीजिए, और कोई भी डाउट्स होते हैं तो वो भी आप मेरे साथ शेयर कर सकते हैं। सो दिस इज दैट फ्रॉम माई साइड, थैंक यू फॉर ज्वाइनिंग दिस सेशन, थैंक यू फॉर वॉचिंग दिस सेशन, बाय बाय, टेक केयर ऑल, हैव अ नाइस डे।